Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Howie Marlin, your host, here at Recovery Matters, the podcast for those who are thinking about working on and helping folks get through the process of dealing with their stuff. We got a lot going on today, so we'll see how far we get into that. And first, enjoy the new music, huh? Not bad, a little more soothing. Yeah, I know the rock and roll stuff was a bit much. We'll see how that goes in the future. Well, happy 5th of July, everybody. Man, there were enough fireworks to scare the bejesus out of every bird on Martha's Vineyard last night. That was really pretty crazy. I hope you had a safe one. The island in the summer is remarkable. For those of you that don't know, we go from 15,000 in the winter to about 115,000 in the summer. And everybody wants a party. And that's all fine. I mean, it really is. Except things, things get crazy and the ER gets insanely busy. I was there the other day and we're at full steam. The emergency department at the Martha's Vineyard Hospital is basically two stations. The front one, where during the winter we'll have one doctor and just 2 or 3 or 4 nurses, a couple of extra staff. And during the summer, the back station opens. We'll have 3 or 4 doctors and PAs, physician's assistants, half a dozen nurses, a half a dozen more student nurses, and assistants of all kinds. And it can be pretty crazy. I mean, really crazy. But, that's life. And one of the things about that is a lot of folks come in just absolutely twisted into knots over stuff they've drank, snorted, and shot. And it's like, you come here to do that? Okay, that's your choice. And it is choice. At least it starts off as choice. But, the addiction, nobody wants to be addicted. Nobody's born and says, "Oh, I feel like I want to get addicted." No, not at all. It starts as fun and games, and it's not a big deal, and you get quite the buzz, and everybody enjoys your company, and you think you're funny, or you think you're more creative, or you think you're just really in this insane zone, and that's well and good, I could say, if it wasn't so harmful for you. And then soon it kind of takes over. And then it really takes over. Sort of like the old Alien movies, where there's this being inside you that drives you to do things. And that's exactly what it's like. When I tell people who don't know what addiction is like, it's like having an alien inside you. It's calling the shots. It wants to do. It wants to get. That's all it wants to do is get. And then when you're in the throngs of it, well, whatever. But, addiction. How many forms of it are there? As I say this, I'm sure you're thinking, you guys are going, well, I'm not addicted. Yeah, well, okay. This whole new thing with pot, let's just talk about that. It's going to be legal everywhere. It's starting to work its way through the judicial system and the courts. And it's just like booze. I mean, we've had over 75 years to study booze. We've only had a few months to study pot. Remember, guys, I'm an old hippie. My parents had a wholesale distribution company for head shop paraphernalia, for crying out loud. I still have the sign in my studio downstairs, High Tide. I'll post that picture. But my point being, I'm an old stoner, so yeah, I know very well. My God, what it's all about. But the idea of it getting out of control is where we have to start drawing the line. And I just want this conversation to start. I just want people to talk about it. You're an adult, you make your decision, you deal with it. Fine. Kids, hold on. We got trouble. These vapes, these vape devices, you can put cannabinoid oils in them, cannabis, and vape, and it doesn't smell like pot. This is trouble. It's real trouble. The developing mind doesn't really stop developing into the mid-20s. Let's make one thing perfectly clear, and you'll hear me say this probably every show. When it comes to kids, no, it's not good. No, it's not permissible. No, it's not okay. It's just not. Yeah, you're going to experiment. If you're a healthy kid, you're going to stretch the limits. You can test the boundaries. Da, da, da. I get that. So you give it a shot. Give it a try. Every now and then a little something. I'm not saying it's good, but I'm saying if you do it like that, okay, well, I guess we'll be able to deal. Not a lot of dead brain cells, not a lot of deformed development. If you're smoking every day, we got to talk. If you're smoking a few times a week and you think that's fine and it doesn't gotcha, all right, well then do this. Take a break. What do you mean take a break? Stop for a while. Well, I can stop. I can stop for days or weeks if I want. I go, okay, does it harm you if you stop? No, I'm fine. Oh, okay. Does it hurt you if you stop? No, that's fine. So stop. Why? To see if you're dependent on it. Oh, marijuana's not addictive. I go, what you? From the chemical standpoint, like the addiction process of heroin. Yeah, you're right about that. But the functional dependency. Hold on, let me explain something. The pathways in the brain are like cow paths. The cows walk through the grass and it wears a path. Well, are they? I don't know. For this analogy, what do you want to call it? So some are cows and some are moose. I don't know. Does it matter which one makes the path? Oh yeah, the cows, they gotta march. If that's the opiate and you've gotta go, then they've gotta go. But the moose on this, if moose is pot and they go down every once in a while, and they don't mind not going, I get it. But if they go down that path a lot, it wears a groove. And if there's this groove in your mind, this pathway, if the chemical sequences are all set up, if it's become a well-worn and clearly expected sequence of chemical activity in your brain, and you stop it, the brain goes, hey, what about me? Come on, man. Let's get the moose going. Put a little bud in that bowl. Hold it. Yeah, wait a minute. That's it. That's what I'm talking about. I know the analogy's a little goofy. Now, folks, let me tell you, if you think that's goofy, stick around, because my analogies are just... Anyway, the point being, pathways in the brain, these cow paths of repeated use, which creates an easy direction for flow through the woods or the fields of your mind. Dependence is like that. It becomes a road, a path where it's expected. And when it doesn't go, then you want it. Now here's where I turn to the kid who told me, oh, I'm not addicted to pot. Oh, yeah, okay. A week. Have you smoked? No, I'm fine. Oh, good. That's good. No vapes or anything like that? Oh, I did a little vape. No. You can't do nothing. None of it. What do you mean? Nothing at all? Can't do any cannabinoid oil or something? Right. None of that. Oh, okay. So it goes for a week. And then it goes for another week. He says, see, I'm doing really good. I go, that's great. That's really good. You're doing so well. You're starting to feel sharp. You're like, yeah, okay. Well, wait a minute. It takes a while for that path to start to grow grass again. And if grass, in this analogy, is communication between the synapses of the brain, communication between the other functions of the brain, and you're just now beginning to regrow, keep it growing. Rock on. Give it another week. Oh, you want me to stop for another week? It'll be 3 weeks. I go, why? Is that a problem? No, I guess it's not a problem, but my friends are getting suspicious. I go, your friends. Yeah, tell them, say whatever you want to them, but it's your business, your life, your brain. So why don't you give it another week? Guy comes back 3 weeks later, I gotta tell you, I went to a party, I really wasted. I go, why? Oh, because all my friends were doing it. Oh, you see? Well, you couldn't help yourself, could you? No, well, I could. Well, if you could have, you would have. Well, yeah, but I could anytime I want. Here we go, right back to that. So it's the stinking thinking. It's the thinking you're all that in a bag of chips, that you can be better, do better, have more control. That's the addiction lying to you. That's actually that creature inside of you, that thing that grows up inside of you and controls you like a marionette. That's telling you, oh, I can do all that. Well, if you can do all that, then do it. Try it. Just imagine, guys, for those of you listening that do a lot of pot drinking, smoking or drinking or doing whatever, why don't you take a break? Take a drug holiday. One of the things that are really good to do with elderly folks is every time you get a new prescription, you bring all your prescriptions in a bag to your GP, your PG, your general practitioner, your doctor, and have them go through the meds and see, has anything changed? Is there anything that contradicts each other? A lot of people, they do a little doctor shopping just because either they're not happy with doctor left and they go to doctor right. So if you're honest and you bring in all your meds, then your PCP can go through with you and pick just what you need at the right dosages. And a lot of times they ask you to take a medication holiday. Not for the ones that are life dependent. No. If you're what we used to call brittle diabetic and you need insulin shots, no. You're going to continue doing that. But they'll ask you to go on a holiday from other things. A lot of times you'll see this with certain medications. And the doctor wants to see your baseline. He wants to see how you are. So, the interesting thing there is if you get to see what you're like without any influence by any substance, then you really have a chance to, see how sharp are you. And I'm going to tell you this. The cannabinoids, the elements, the chemicals that make up pot reside in the yellow fatty tissue. And I had a kid with me the other day. He goes, look at me, I weigh 110 pounds, I'm 6 feet tall. I don't have any fat. I go, whoa, hold on. You do, and that fat is around your body. And you're right, you don't have a lot of it. But if I took a joint and you took a joint, same size, we each smoked it, I'm going to get, say we ingest the same amount of smoke, the same amount of cannabinoids, the same amount of chemical. Of course, with me being so, I'm kind of like a chunky monkey, with me, it would spread out my body and reside in all the fat and all the 9,000 pounds of fat that I have. And you, my skinny friend, all of that would go in the very little bit of fat that you had. So it would be really intense, a very high dose of that or collection of it in that fat. And if you're a daily smoker, it can take up to a month for that to work its way out. Hey, if you're a heavy guy like me, it's not a lot of it's going to reside in that fat because it's spread thin, right? But if you're thin and you ingest a lot of it, it's going to have a very thick concentration. So these things are some of the things we need to talk about. But, my point dealing with this new issue of legality, we got a lot of talking to do. I want you to talk to your kids. Get the communication going. You don't have to necessarily lay down the law, but open the door for communication. And a lot of times when I work with kids and families, I'm going to tell you that a parent may come to me and say, well, Joey's not doing this, that, the other thing. And I'll have them sit together, and I'm not going to talk about what Louie's doing or not doing, but I'm going to talk about the philosophy of the communication in the house, how people talk to each other, how they deal with stress and conflict, and how to go about addressing new things. So that as you bring in the reality of what's new, and you have open lines of communication, the conversation will still be stressful. It's going to be, no doubt. But it'll be fluid, it'll be open, and it'll be with much less confrontation and a lot less hurt. So I'm sure they're going to, that's a subject I'll bring up again. But in the meantime, let's just take a little break. I'll be back in a minute. And a word from our sponsors. Oh yeah, we don't have any sponsors. I'll be back. All right. Well, welcome back to Phase 2 of Recovery Matters. So, big day for me. Very big week for me. Very big month, everything. Making a very long story short, I am officially launching my practice this week. And when I say officially launching, I had to get a number of things taken care of. And I went down, if any of you are marketing people, I did the whole thing. I did the whole thing, got logos, URLs, emails, websites, designed the website, got the copy, put it all in, got the website taken care of, this podcast taken care of, ads in the paper. I'm doing something with a local radio station. I'm doing a local television show called Recovery Matters as well. And I'll have all that when those things finally get done. But surprise to surprise, the local newspaper did an article on me. Now, I knew that they were going to do something. I spoke with a reporter not too long ago. And I did. I told them about my intentions. And yeah, I put ads in both papers. But that's because I wanted the July and August folks at Martha's Vineyard to know that I was doing this. But it came as quite a delight. And so if you go to howiemarlin.com, Howie, H-O-W-I-E, Marlin, M-A-R-L-I-N, like the fish.com, it'll take you to my website and decisions counseling. And there will be descriptions of what happens and a link to that website through the Martha's Vineyard Times. So I'm sure you'll get a kick out of that. There are some errors, a couple of blatant ones. One is that I came from San Francisco prior to moving to the Vineyard in 2011. Nah, I don't know where that came from, although I did talk to her about a different endeavor I did many, many years ago in the motorsport industry, which was essentially based in San Francisco, but maybe she got her wires crossed there. And the other thing was that the lead person, they interviewed someone, the mother of a child I did an intervention with, and she she was really very happy about what happened, and made a reference to being referred by community services. That's not true either. It was referred to by another private organization where I met the woman from, and had never had an encounter with that woman or her son when I worked through either community services or the hospital. So that was an error. Some other little things, but the point is, here we go. Got a couple of calls for some new clients. That's great. And this morning got a call to do an intervention, and that's wonderful. I feel thoroughly prepared. And let me explain why. I have been working out of the emergency department of Martha's Vineyard Hospital through community services, by the way, and I also went to the jail, also went to the schools, also went into the community, and I did interventions. Literally? Well, I don't know, folks. I'm going to say well over 100 over the last, 7-8 years. Encounters with people in duress, emotional stress, substance-induced conditions, where I had to intervene with the process. I would meet the client, meet the person. I do my assessment and diagnosis. Then I would talk with the family members, their friends, girl boyfriends, other folks who are involved, get all the background information about them, do my best to get the picture of this person's life, what they're looking for, how capable they are in different areas of their lives, and how best to help them through the crisis. Then I would get insurance authorization, which was just a bloody nightmare, and it continues to be. But I've dealt with a lot of insurances, Tufts and Beacon, Blue Cross, and what have you. Getting the authorization and then getting them placed in a facility. When it comes to mental health, and here in New England, there's only a choice select places. But when it comes to detox, there's quite a few. Yes, we had, the ones we're most familiar with, and there were arrangements made with some which really made the process fluid, very easy and quick. And that's the important thing, the fluid process, getting the person, the loved one, into treatment quickly. You don't dally. You don't give space. Oh, I want to go home and think about it. Yeah, no. No. I mean, but, I've been doing this a long time. 1973 at Open Clinic, University of Denver, my first exposure. Yeah, that was weird. I mean, did we do a lot of high-end stuff? No, not at all. Most of it was working at concerts and handing out salt pills, which we could do back then for dehydration, but helping people through panic and, drug overdoses, where we'd bring them into the medical center and the medical staff, of course, would take care of them. But there wasn't a great deal of counseling other than consoling the classmates and hooking them up with resources. But that was the bulk of that. And then down in Lakewood, New Jersey, I worked crisis intervention down there for a while. Then I worked in Martha's Vineyard Community Services in 1985. For the others of you on Martha's Vineyard, remember in the basement of Edgecomp, the office supply store? Yeah, and that's where the bulk of the folks that we helped back then were stuck because they missed the last ferry and needed a place to stay. Yeah, I'm serious. That was most of what I experienced or what I remember. That's long. That community services has blossomed, and now they're involved in all sorts of things, and they do not offer lodging. But my point being, in the hundreds of encounters over the almost cumulative, over 10 years of all of this in the Vineyard and the ER, becoming very familiar with the process of meeting people where they're at and bringing their bottom up. You hear a lot of the phrase, well, they'll be ready when they hit bottom. Well, define bottom. Got you thinking. What do you mean? What is your bottom? Is your bottom getting into hitting a telephone pole? Is it waking up in the bathroom in your own vomit? Is it breaking up with your girlfriend in the morning and finding yourself in a strange place with a new person? Is it living under a bridge? Is it pushing a golf cart of your only possession? Where's bottom? The bottom is where you make it. And as a CCIR recovery coach, we are trained to meet people where they are, quote unquote, where they're at, to meet them at their psychic level of engagement, and then work with them. In other words, we're not trying to shoehorn them into our vision of you should be sober, I'll accept you when you're like this. Nonsense. I'll accept you when you're ready to listen to me. We'll take it from there. I mean, if you'll listen to me, I'm thrilled. And, that's a good thing. So, with that being said, I felt blessed to spend a week with Jeff and Deborah J. These are the folks from Love First. Deborah's from Hazelden, and she and her husband have been training people in interventions for years. The Family Guide to Intervention from Love First. These are certainly people who cut the path. I mean, she's been on Oprah, for crying out loud, a half a dozen times, and Dr. Drew, and you name it. She's written a bunch of books, and the training that I went to covered the soup to nuts process of clinical strategic family intervention. The clinical component of it is that we act on proven methods of results that are determined to address the specific issues. Now, these things have been devised through years of examination, test, and practice. The structured component of it is that it is literally structured. There's a process with responsibilities and delegated responsibilities, that there are steps to go through that need to be done in order. And in this order, you get movement, you get cohesion, you get unity and conviction. So that when the loved one is brought in, it's a smooth operation. Oh yeah, there's energy and, there's sorts of, behaviors. But the bottom line is, when it's done, the person who needs the help has now seen the futility of trying to stay married to their addiction. And there's this wonderful process of writing letters, which people present and read, which are very convincing. And then there is this thing called a bottom line letter, which, if you decide you do not want to comply, because we as family have to take care of ourselves, we're going to not allow you to ruin our lives. And you explain why in detail. And these things can be rather firm. And people stick to their guns. And this is the kind of thing which will really help folks who are stuck get the leverage to take action. And then, of course, the most important parts after the intervention, we get them, we escort them, bring them to the right place, the best possible place. Yeah, I know. You're thinking, oh, all these places, they're just money hungering and they're just, career building places and things like that. I go, well, I don't know. I will tell you that I know of places which are singularly focused with different strategic methods, styles, and qualities. Some are pure rock and roll and really good for 20-somethings. Some are really for the greatest generation with the mood and the population of the greatest generation. And then all sorts in between. And the nice thing is, there's quite a few of them. And a lot to choose from around the country. Not all of them are wicked expensive. A lot of them are free. But none of them are Disneyland. These are places where people who are struggling with emotional challenges are working through their issues. And, it starts out just not fun, but healthy. And it turns into support, which becomes encouragement, which becomes relief, which becomes relaxation, which becomes somewhat enjoyable, which becomes, wow, I'm okay now. I like this clear-headedness. And then once you get there, you need to stay there. So, how long will you stay? That depends on a lot of things. I absolutely do not want anyone out of anywhere earlier than 30 days at the very least, but that's just getting your feet wet. 60 or 90 days is more like it. And the reason is you need practice to become the new you. You need to put time in between you and your old friend addiction. You need to put space between you and those triggers, those friends. And just watch how few of those people even say anything to you at all when you come back. Because now you're not the supplier of their stuff, that you're not their bar buddy, that you're not, your shooting alley friend. Yeah, it changes. And what's weird? You don't miss them. And people say there's nothing to do when you're sober. Well, that's a bunch of malarkey. It's crazy malarkey. Because it's crazy thought when you're thinking in addictive thoughts. There's more, and wonderful things to do. And, depending where you live, all sorts of different options. But the truth is, it's all better. And you start feeling better and living that better life. And then it becomes the new you. That cow path starts to grow grass. The foliage grows in. You start to feel better. And then after a while, a year or so, you start to really enjoy it. And you're making other friends who are not doing stupid things. You're not getting in trouble. Your relationships are lasting. You're getting to work on time. Do you know how much money is lost from lost work because of people who are hungover? It's like $80 million. You're crazy. Some of the bigger institutions actually pay for people like me to come in and work with their populations to help them stop losing money. Yeah, they'll pay for the insurance. They'll pay for the treatment. Why? Because they're saving so much more money at the end. We'll talk about that later. I know, just gone a little bit far. So the thing is, I just came back. I literally have an intervention that I have to do on Sunday, and I'll tell you folks how that turned out. Got a call this morning. Yep, opiate issue, and meet the Beatles. The family is coming in, and we're doing everything that I got. Just the training was wonderful. The training literally put the pieces that I've been doing for years down on paper in sequence and spelled out the details. Tremendous. I mean, lots of new stuff, lots of new tools. Support and guidance, incredible. So, what we offer with Love First trained interventionists is a high level of professionalism. I will be what you expect from an intervention professional. I will be on time. You will be notified. The plan will be concrete. The follow-up will be concrete. The placement, delivery, The whole engagement, very well thought of, very well orchestrated, very well delegated, following up with the delegation, the intervention itself, it should move pretty smoothly. And let me tell you, when you see the TV shows, so much of that just is hooey. And I'm going to tell you that, please just move on from that. I'm sure there's a piece of that which is fine, but there's so much more to it. So if you have any questions, go to howiemarlin.com. At the bottom, there's a place for you to send me information. If you got a story to tell, if you've been through an intervention, if you know of someone who's hurting and you've got a story to tell and would like to be a guest on the show, we can do it anonymously. You don't need to say your name or where you're from. Or you can tell me your story and then I can tell the story, leaving all the identities out. Or you can come on and shout it to the mountain. Tell us all about exactly what you did, who you are, where you're from. I've got a couple of friends who are going to be on very soon, and one of them, my friend Jimmy, just remarkable. This guy, streetwise kid from Baltimore, tattoos all over the place. He is a rough and tumble and been into detox, many times. Well, he's straight now and an interventionist and working at the last place that he worked. Now he's an employee, and a phenomenal one at that. So, yeah, I can't wait to introduce him to Jimmy and James, I call him, and my friend Colin, who is a brain specialist, who one of the subjects that we talked about was in depth the impact last week at this training, the impact of substances on the brain, and looking at the different brain scans. And I'll talk about that next week. The phenomenal progress in looking at these scans and being able to determine how substances are impacting the brain, the diminished capacity. Folks, you've heard of mad cow disease, where the brain looks like Swiss cheese. Well, when you look at these brain scans of activity, and they're all color-coded and they're really very relevant, and you see just how immensely affected the brain is by alcohol use of any sort, different drugs, amphetamines, and opiates, and you see the different brain scans. If that doesn't catch your attention and scare the living daylights out of you, I don't know what will. And so I'll have Colin on the show. He's a fascinating guy. Yeah, really, just a fascinating guy. I love one of his stories he tells is that he loves his enemies. He loves his enemies because when he's gone through life and somebody's gotten into his way, as a result of dealing with the trauma of that issue, he overcame it and then advanced in life in very big ways. And so he's got a delightful story, and one of them is 21 chickens. 21 chickens. Yeah, we'll be talking about that. All right. Well, give a couple of shout-outs here to to Jeff and Deborah J. From First Love. Oh, my. I mean, to just think of... To think of how incredible that experience was. To all the other recovery coaches, to Courtney and Beth and Clayton, and I'll go on and on and on to Cheryl, and it's just amazing the impact they had on me. So I just want to say that it's a truly remarkable experience that I went through, and I am quite certain that we'll be talking more about in the future. But coming up in the end of our time, and I'll say really appreciate everybody. Thank you very much for listening. This is Howie Marlin on Recovery Matters. So until next time, keep the sun in your face and the wind to your back. Clear sailing, everybody.